Who run the world? Girls. We run this mother. Who run this mother? Girls. 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 Who run the world? 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 Girls.
Hey, bring it on, baby. All your friends, you're the ish, and I love that body. You wanna ball explicit? I swear you're good. I won't tell nobody. You gotta be a BFF. I wanna see that girl. It's all women and body. Hairdos and nails, that Louis Chanel all up in the party. Where them girls at? Where them girls at? Who run the state? Who run the summer? Who run the world? Who run the world? Where them girls at? Girls at? Girls at? Girls at?
What you want, baby, I got it. What you need, you know I got it. All I'm asking is for a little respect when you come home. Hey, baby, just a little bit. Just a little bit, mister, just a little bit. I ain't gonna do you wrong while you're gone. I ain't gonna do you wrong 'cause I don't wanna. All I'm asking is for a little respect when you come home. Just a little bit, baby, just a little bit. Just a little bit, just a little bit. I'm about to give you all my money, and all I'm asking in return, honey, to give me my propers when you get home. Yeah, baby, just a when you get home. Just a little bit, just a little bit. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, think F-T-C-T. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
Good evening and welcome to the third annual Gentry Women in Tech Conference presented by 181 Fremont. And I just happen to be in the penthouse suite at 181. We're going to show you around a little later tonight. So tonight's program is the third episode in a four-part series. You might remember way back when, in 2018 and 2019, Gentry held some sold-out Women in Tech conferences in person, and they were both fantastic. Well, of course, you know, 2020 has meant some change for just about everything, and we changed to a virtual format. It has its upsides, though, especially on the conference's reach. So far, more than 450 people have been able to learn from these fascinating female founders, VCs, and C-level executives. So that's pretty great. And tonight, we also have an incredible lineup for you that we hope will inspire. But first, a heartfelt thank you to our sponsors for making this event possible. We still need those sponsors. Our presenting sponsor is 181 Fremont. Our gold sponsor is Seiler LLP, and our silver sponsors are Morgan Stanley, Cooley, DeLeon Realty, and Harper School. We'd also like to thank our in-kind sponsors. That would be J. Lord Vineyards and Wines, Four Seasons, Silicon Valley, and Skin Spirit. So thank you all for supporting this important forum. It is so important to have these conversations, especially during this time, right? And the theme of the Gentry Women in Tech Conference is investing in future leaders, a key topic when it comes to building tech companies of the future. I think you would probably agree. The women spotlighted tonight all have reached leadership positions and are particularly focused on the future of work, as well as crafting and promoting diverse teams in their various companies. But first up, it is my distinct pleasure to get to introduce and welcome Pat Wadors. Pat serves as Chief Talent Officer for ServiceNow, the digital workflow company making work better for people. Prior to joining ServiceNow in 2017, Pat was the Senior Vice President, Global Talent at LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn, where her focus was on recruiting and developing top talent, driving organizational transformation, and growing LinkedIn's global footprint. So that's not all. Pat has also held human resources leadership positions at Plantronics, Yahoo, Align Technology, and Applied Materials. And in case that's not enough for you, Pat currently serves on the board of directors, Rezenovitz, Accolade, and El Camino Hospital. So that's a lot. You're a little bit busy, Pat. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Happy to have you. All right, let's start by talking a little bit about your career journey and how this all started. You told me when you were 19. Fill me in.
Yes. So I have dyslexia, and so school was not my friend, but I thought I could outmaneuver my 7 siblings. I thought I could argue and debate, but I just couldn't put it on paper. So I went to Career Center at LSU. They said I liked HR. My uncle and my dad are both in HR. And so I interviewed them and said, what's this thing called HR? What do you love? And my uncle is the one who told me that on average, a company's operational expense, 80% is the cost of talent. So if you think about hiring talent, what you pay for talent, the comp, the computers we give you, where you work, how you work, your training programs, all that's the cost of talent. And so he asked me, did I want to be a recruiter or a comp analyst or something? And I said, no, I'm going to run HR. And back then it was very male dominated. And so he's like, sweetie, really? Like this, you want to be a recruiter? I'm like, no, Uncle Roland, I'm going to run HR. Show me how.
I like that. That's how you start. And then did you start in HR actually when you got out of college or whatever you were doing? Did you jump right in?
I jumped right in. So they didn't have the degree back then. So I'm not that old, but they did not have the degree back in the 80s. And so it was a combination of business administration and psychology, so business management and psych. And I did an internship with Becton Dickinson in their HR, graduated, went and did HR support, and then became an HR manager at Calvin Klein. And after that, I went to do a stint of comp at Viacom. And if you looked on my profile, you'd see every time I made a job switch, I changed industries. One, because I wanted to learn a skill and I wanted to learn the dynamic of talent around the globe. I did not want to be a pattern recognition. I didn't want to apply the same tool, the same solution. So changing industries kept me fresh.
Interesting. That's an interesting approach. So the job was in the same field, but learning different industries along the way. I love that idea. And one of the things we talked about when you, was it at Applied? We talked so much about failure, embrace failure, celebrate failure. And it's like, no, I don't want to fail. I want to just tell other people to embrace it. But can you share with us your experience and how it made you, I don't know, I'm guessing a better leader or better person understanding HR as you're hiring others?
Yeah. So, yeah, my biggest mistake, my first big mistake, I've made many mistakes, was at Applied. I had one of my first times I've left HR to do an ops role. And so I was going to do the business implementation of Oracle. I was super excited. I had a tech lead and then me. And we reported to a senior level executive. And this was a 18-month, 2-year assignment. I was getting coached and guided by the best. And my first big meeting with the CEO, with the 5 presidents, the COO, the CFO, I am like prepped to the max. I have all my data ready. I mean, I was like, I got this. I brought like 3 or 4 of my team with me, and I had a large team. Like, this is gonna be so cool. You're gonna get visibility. This is great. Our data is rock solid. And I proceed to go in there and show them the business readiness scorecard. And everyone was red or yellow. Everyone was failing. But my data was accurate. I was so proud of my data. And immediately these leaders got mad at me. And a few of them were cursing at me and yelling. And, you know, it was a very uncomfortable moment. And so my team got emotional. And I'm like, shh, don't cry here. I think you can leave. Like, they were melting around me. It was not a good moment.
Don't cry.
Don't cry. Don't cry. And so the CEO, this is embarrassing. The CEO actually called the meeting to a halt. And he turned to me and said, Pat, I don't think this is how you envisioned this meeting to go. You can see the reaction of my executive team. why don't you rethink what happened here? How can you course correct? Let me know when you're ready if you can course correct, and I'm willing to re-engage. And then he just killed the meeting. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is so bad. Like, I couldn't have messed up in a more bigger stage. Like this, you can't recover. I was mortified. So I go to my boss and I'm like, Steve, no, that sucked. I mean, we messed up. Like, I used the we. And yeah, the we. And he leaned back. He was super calm. I remember that. I'm like, Steve, no, really get anxious. This is bad. Like, I can't hide. And he said, no, this was bad. And I'm like, give me more. He goes, no, Wadors, this is on you. And he said, look, when you walk out that door, people don't care that you fell down, that you made this mistake. They care about how you picked yourself up. So why don't you think about what your mistake was, what you learned from it, and how you want to pick yourself up. And then I'll talk to you. Until then, this is on you, Wadors, go. And so I went home, and granted, I didn't sleep a wink. I couldn't eat. I was nauseous. I wanted to just like blah to my husband and go, I made the biggest career mistake. And I realized my mistake around 2, probably 3 a.m. in the morning. And I come in the next day and I go, Steve, I realized where I went off, and regardless of my reputation, I know what to do. And he goes, well, what is that? And I said, I wanted to be the smartest person in the room. I wanted to show everyone how great I was, what I learned. My data was accurate, but I missed the whole spirit of my role, and my role was business readiness. I should have leaned in to make sure they were successful. It wasn't about them, it was about me. I should have been the wise one, not the smart one, and totally screwed up. And so I course corrected, got the team re-engaged, calibrated with the leaders, had that meeting, a few weeks later, and got back on track. But that was a humbling experience that I've carried forward forever.
Still wake up in the middle of the night every once in a while, sick to your stomach. I love that saying, the wise one, not the smart one. And for women and for men too, but are there moments you've seen where you advise that concept? So that's a great example that you just gave us of being, are there other moments of sort of where that moment of being wise, not having, you want to prove yourself, take credit, but not be, I don't know quite what the word is, too much the one saying, I'm the know-it-all, but here's the knowledge I have. I don't know. It's a long question. Wise one, smart one. How do you do it with women and sending that message off to them?
So if you're in an important meeting, like, know who's going to be invited to that meeting first off. And if there's other women going to that meeting, have each other's back. Be advocates for each other first off. We know we get interrupted. We know people take our ideas and run with them and get credit for them. And so if you know these watch outs, just be alert and just be really, 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 please, if you hear me, this is my one advice, be comfortable in your chair. Like, you deserve to be sitting in that role. Yeah, like, you're get the chair. You're in the chair. You got to roll. That's why you're invited. And if someone does take your idea and rephrase it and they get credit for it, don't lean back and pull away and shut down. That's the worst you can do. Turn around and say, Todd, thank you for rephrasing my point. Thank you. Now people understand what I was trying to get at. I appreciate your support here. Just call back your power. It's not Steve's fault. He just reframed his words and someone gave him credit because they heard him more than you. But by you calling your power back, it puts everyone on alert, whether they realize it or not. And it gives space for everyone else to acknowledge who is saying what in the room. And even on interruptions, just think about how often we get interrupted. And I'm an introvert, so it's really, really hard for me to enter into conversation. So please don't interrupt me as in my brain. But if you get interrupted, I would pause and say, okay, can we wait a second? I just want to hear Julie finish her thought, don't you think? Like, I can interrupt on Julie's behalf to give her the space. That's why having an advocate in the room, having what I call a dance partner, helps. But don't give up your power, own your chair, and be there for each other.
I love that. And that idea of having an advocate in the room to interrupt for you too, but also I love your sort of sweet way of sort of saying, oh, thanks for clarifying what I was trying to say, as opposed to, I said that, which sounds ridiculous. Okay, you are considered one of the country's top thought leaders on the future of work. So any idea what the workplace is going to look like? This is a big question in 2021 and beyond. I mean, I know we certainly didn't expect this, but.
Sure didn't. I think in disruptive times, we get to disrupt ourselves. So I actually get energized in tough times, oddly enough. And what I'm seeing is that talent is going to change the direction of the future work, not business. And business is going to figure out how to dance with talent, what they can live with, what they can't live with. They're going to give optionality more to employees for sure. I already know senior talent around the world is saying, I don't have to move to Hyderabad. I can find an employer. I can live right with my family, best work, and I can fly in every now and then. I don't have to move anymore. I can thrive where I live. And that statement with confidence is true. And so employers have to choose how they're going to win talent over. Why walk in my door versus your door? The second thing that's going to happen, that's going to be a really fast follow, that I was just on a CHRO roundtable this morning, actually, on this very topic. And I said, look, I think we're going to figure out 60% of our employees want a hybrid approach, come into an office occasionally, episodically, for purpose. We're no longer going to look in a parking lot for productivity measurement. We're going to know it's coming in to meet with the team, to innovate, to do something, to celebrate, and then leave. You got 20% that want to be full-time in an office because they hate being at home. That's cool too. And 20% never want to be in the office. That's cool too. But those folks that decide to live wherever they best thrive, and they decide to hang their hat in a different location that you have an entity in, we're going to have to think differently about benefits as well. So if you think about, if I, as a CHRO, say on average, I'm giving $10,000 worth of value to you, but you actually only use $2,000 because your partner has better medical, you only need the dental. Why wouldn't I give you all $10,000 for dental? Like double down on dental, like it's the roulette wheel, 100 on black, whatever it is. But I think more choice is going to end up happening because talent is feeling the empowered choice. It creates higher engagement and better usage. So I can focus on orthodontia and teeth for my family because my husband's got medical. I can focus on childcare. I can focus on this. And I get choice of where you can benefit me and support me in my career and my life.
Yeah, super interesting. Rethinking benefits and how employees are using them, especially with all of this change. Okay, all right, so I have one more question for you that's just sort of fun. Do you have a life motto that you live by?
Yes. I believe in treating people beautifully. And I tell people that all the time. And I can do that and give you really bad news. And people don't understand. If I treat you with compassion, if I treat you with respect, if I listen with you with active listening and care, that is treating you beautifully. And when you do that with someone, even if you're laying them off, or even if you're giving them performance feedback, they walk away feeling supported, cared for, and they listened more carefully to what you had to say. So if you're giving really good feedback, you're not only giving 10% of those words, you're actually probably penetrating 60% of the way there, which is really hard to do. And so treating people beautifully is my motto.
I love that motto, treating people beautifully and be the wise one, not the smart one. Those are words to live by. Pat, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And thank you for making the workplace better for so many people.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I love doing it.
Love that too. All right. Thanks tons, Pat. And before we begin with our fabulous panel, we also have a special treat for you. Our generous sponsors here at 181 Fremont, which is one of San Francisco's most spectacular private residence buildings, is letting us take a sneak peek at the amenities in this new iconic new skyscraper. Behind me, in fact, we have sort of the living room right there. I'm in the office area. The views are amazing. We've got a little bit of smoke going on today, but it's still beautiful. And we do have with us Carmen Lagarda. She's from 181 Fremont to tell us more and take us on a bigger tour of this whole place. Hello, Carmen.
Hi, Diane. Thank you so much. Pat, I am owning my chair. Today, I'm owning my chair, okay? Let me begin by saying that our whole team here at 181 Fremont is thrilled to support this evening's episode. And it has been a joy to hear and learn from these remarkable women. And speaking of remarkable, at over 800 feet tall, 181 Fremont features 55 ultra luxury residences, with a full floor dedicated exclusively to amenities. And it is the only residential building in San Francisco with direct access to the Salesforce Park and Transit Center. Let's take a look. Wow, that was amazing. And believe me when I say it is 1,000 times more spectacular in person. Again, thank you for your time, and we hope you enjoyed this little sneak peek of our incredible amenities here at 181 Fremont. And we hope you can schedule your own virtual tour or in-person tour very soon.
Yes, Carmen, let's do that in person. It's so much more fun getting to see it all. So I'm thoroughly enjoying getting to hang out here at the penthouse area of 181 Fremont. Thank you, Carmen. That was awesome. And thank you for sponsoring this as well. All right, so next up, I'd like to introduce our stellar panel, and it is a stellar panel. First up, we have Alexandrea Alphonso. She goes by Drea, and she's a senior program lead for product support strategy at Google, as well as head of partnerships for Black Tech Women, the premier community for Black women in the tech community. Drea is a strong advocate of allyship in the workplace as well. Okay, next up, we have Susan Winter, Managing Director of Global Head of Loan Syndications at Silicon Valley Bank. Susan earned her undergrad degree and MBA from Duke before heading to Wall Street, where she held roles at JP Morgan, the Blackstone Group, and Barclays, to name just a few. In 2010, Susan brought her expertise to Silicon Valley Bank. And we also have Alessandra Costa, a PhD who is VP of North America Field Engineering for Cadence Design Systems, a strong advocate and supporter of diversity and technology. Alessandra founded the Cadence Women of Worldwide Field Operations Program to attract, retain, and promote female talent in sales, as well as the broader Cadence organization. Gotta love that. And then next up, because we have more, Julie Castro Abrams is general partner at How Women Invest. a new venture fund deeply rooted in the mission to disrupt the antiquated and unequal landscape impacting women. Julie is also the chair and CEO of How Women Lead, a network of over 10,000 women dedicated to promoting diverse women's voices and propelling women's leadership forward. Like that too. And last but not least is Lisa Marrone. She's co-founder of Revel, a social platform aimed at building community for women over 50. I can relate to that one too. She's a Harvard Law School grad and recent Harvard Business School graduate as well. Congratulations on that. Lisa worked at August Capital prior to launching Revel with her co-founder Alexa War last year. So please join me in welcoming these incredible women, along with the one, the only, the fabulous founder and producer of Gentry's Women in Tech Conference, Stefanie Lingle Beasley, who was named one of the most influential women in Silicon Valley in 2015 by the Silicon Valley Business Journal. So Stefanie, take it away for me.
Thank you so much, Diane. It is such an honor to be here with all of these incredible women tonight. I'm actually in the grand penthouse at 181 Fremont. We're socially distancing. We're on the other side of the building, but I just want to, I'll lean away and let you just take a look at that's one of the beautiful dining rooms here at 181 Fremont. I was thinking a lot about Pat Wadors and what she was saying about how going forward, executives are going to be able to choose where they want to live. This is one incredible choice of a place to live. And we're all so thankful for 181 Fremont's support. You might wonder, why in the world would a beautiful boutique high-rise building want to support this event? And it really comes down to, we wanted to do this in person. We wanted you to see what a beautiful place this was. And we thank you all for pivoting with us and doing this in a very different way. So with the videos, we hope we're trying to show you what we would love to be able to show you in person, and hopefully someday soon we can do that. But right now I want to jump right in. We've got so many incredible women, and I know that our viewers want to know even more about them. And I'm going to ask for Drea, Alphonso, I want to start with you. You have had a very interesting journey toward tech. You went straight from politics. You were campaigning for President Barack Obama, and then you end up at Google. Tell us about that journey. What happened?
Yeah, I will say, looking back to the campaign experience, I'm definitely getting flashbacks, just given the times that we are in right now. I will say that experience was such a whirlwind, but it was also very much a blessing at the same time. And that experience really woke me up to the impact that technology can have on transforming movements and also communities. So for me, after the campaign, pursued my career at Google, and I've been there close to 8 years now. And within Google, my career has taken on many different forms as well too. And one thing that I've learned is that I like to be constantly learning or developing new skills and taking on new challenges. So when that's not happening, I kind of get that itch. I'm like, okay, it's time for me to try something new or to explore a new team. And I think for me too, I think this time where we find ourselves in this year's really forced me to explore also what's my identity outside of my work. A lot of times our 9 to 5 can become our identity. So I'm also at a place in my career journey where it's me thinking about what is my journey beyond my career as well too.
Fantastic. Thank you, Drea. I want to introduce you to an incredibly smart woman. Every woman on this panel is incredibly smart, but we've got Dr., or if we were in Italy, it would be Dottore, Alessandra Costa. I'm sure I murdered that, Alessandra. I would love for people to find out a little bit about you. You knew that you were interested in engineering, in STEM from a very early age. And a lot of that stemmed from your family as well. We're into engineering and technology. Tell us a little bit about your career journey.
Yes, my father was an engineer in Italy, and I was around the technology when I was even very young, and even before my father, actually my grandfather was a sort of an inventor, and actually recently I discovered that some of these radios are on sale on the internet right now in historical sites, so it was very interesting for me. But anyway, I was looking for a challenge, and I wanted to do something different from mainstream. And so I jumped into electronic engineering. At that time, there weren't many women, honestly. I don't want to go into much detail, but suffice to say that in the building where my college was, restroom for women were only at one floor, but not at the other floors because they hadn't put it in the project initially to have women in the building. So, so that's the way it started. They weren't super easy years because it was very competitive, very challenging, and very selective. And after that, I decided to stick to it. I did my PhD still in Italy. And then I had the opportunity in 2000 to move to the US to join Cadence R&D here in the US. I've been with the same company for a long time, which is sort of unusual in Silicon Valley. My 2000 was definitely amazing year for me because as I was moving from Italy to here, I also met my husband. In fact, he plays around and he says that I moved for him, which is not true, unfortunately, for my job. But the joke is that actually Cadence provided as part of the package also a husband for me. And so it was definitely a big year for me. We got married and what was supposed to be a couple of years stint for me in the US became a choice in life. And now I'm still here, I'm still married. And I have, we have a daughter who's a senior in high school.
Fantastic. And ladies, just so that you know, Alessandra is in charge of Cadence for all of North America for engineering. So she's quite the powerhouse, and we'll get back to Alessandra in a little bit, but I want to introduce Julie Castro Abrams, who is one extraordinary lady. You've been at the forefront of really promoting women for most of your career. And your most recent venture, on top of all the other hats that you wear, is to be a venture capitalist. You're actually putting your money where your mouth is and investing in those female founders and making an impact in the world. So we'd love to hear about your journey too, Julie.
Well, Stefanie, you did a great job with curating this group because we're all coming at this from a different perspective. Everybody has a different journey. And that's what I want. You said there are going to be some young women that are watching this. I want these young women to know that you don't have to just, engineering is kick-ass. That's not the only path to tech, right? So I come at this from a justice lens. Economic justice is the key underpinning of everything that I've done, but it is also everything that impacts all of us. All of the social issues that we're seeing have an economic justice lens, if you ask me. So for 11 years, I was the CEO of an organization that was a micro-enterprise and microfinance organization. So I helped 6,000 low-income women, Black and Latina women primarily, start their own companies. And they were very, very successful. And that, to me, that's one of the best things I've ever done. But they were mostly small. And one of the things I saw is that the venture system, the financing system is completely broken. How much do you think people are investing in women in terms of venture capital? 2% of all venture dollars are going to women-owned companies. And it stayed that way consistently for years and years and years. And there are so many different pieces of the system that are broken. And I started researching and I thought, well, how are we going to change this? It's really hard to regulate this particular industry. And I thought, well, first and foremost, I know all these kick-ass women leaders. I'm going to aggregate them. We're all going to come together and create our own venture fund. But then we're going to disrupt the landscape. And we've been working in a number of different spaces around women on corporate boards, and we've been able to disrupt. And so that's my mission next, is to be able to disrupt that landscape. We're going to make great investments and make a lot of money for all the women investors, but we've got a bigger game. We're bigger fish to fry.
I love it, Julie. That's fantastic. And actually, it's going to sound a little strange. We're going to somebody who is in formal banking right now, but I know that Susan Winters here with Silicon Valley Bank. Susan came from that world you're really trying to disrupt. She was on Wall Street for many years. Susan's had an incredible career, but now she's with Silicon Valley Bank, which is a really forward-thinking bank. If anybody's in tech, you know Silicon Valley Bank gets it as far as tech goes. And this is the woman to see. And Susan, you're in a world that's, most of the people in the room are going to be men, but you have thrived here. And we'd love to hear about your career journey.
Well, thank you for that. I don't know, I'm surviving. It's all going well. My story was really, I was born in Wisconsin. I never anticipated banking. It wasn't part of our world. But quite frankly, I watched Louis Wickheiser, Wall Street Week, year over year. And then I wanted to go work on Wall Street. So I lived in New York for a long time. And then once I had an opportunity, I was able to pick up and move over and go to Silicon Valley. And it's been a great opportunity for me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you beautifully.
Sure, okay. And so I was able to move over to Silicon Valley, and it was a very interesting process. I had been on Wall Street for 20 years. An opportunity came up at Silicon Valley Bank, and it's been just this interesting transition. So going from very sort of hierarchical, team-oriented, foundation-oriented, focus on academic background and doing everything within, how we do it, not ever breaking rank. And then coming to Silicon Valley, which was very much, the land of dreamers and pioneers and coming up with innovation ideas and really thoughtfulness about the individual and the team coming together in different unique ways. So it was a great opportunity for me to come over. For me, in just coming into tech in Silicon Valley, I think, the biggest areas that I focused on is really on how to be just intellectually curious, just be a student. My first I'd say the first year, I didn't say a whole lot. I just studied on Friday nights and Saturday nights and mornings and just listen and just be a complete sponge about what I was learning. And I'd had a lot of exposure already to a lot of finance and just the underpinnings of how we had to do business, and then kind of apply that. And the greatest benefit too is kind of taking both the benefits of having the strong infrastructure, integrity, and foundation, and then you marry that with some of the innovation and coming up with a lot of backing interesting, cool, disruptive companies. So it has just been kind of an interesting, I can't even say it's a chapter, it's just a really wonderful place to come here and learn about artificial intelligence and security and enterprise software and what's going on with drones and frontier tech and life sciences. And it is mind-blowing, all the technologies that are going on. So it's an interesting way from going, banking companies that were heavy metal producers and manhole covers to, looking at IT security. And so I'm having a ton of fun. From a personal perspective, what I tried to do is really just be thoughtful about, I was the newbie and I was be a student and just kind of bow down and learn a lot about what I can learn from individuals. And usually on Wall Street, it's more learn from senior people who've been there forever. But in California, particularly in technology, it's learning from everyone around you. There's so much inspiration and influence everywhere you go. So it's been a really interesting transition, and I couldn't say how much I love it. It's just been fantastic. And then I'm just kind of on the points that some of the other panelists brought up is just the building through what can you do besides it. I think being in California affords you the ability to look what is your other reasons, for being here, what are your passions, what are your philanthropic things. So being able to take things that you've cared very nearly and dearly with and starting to put them into play as well. So it's been a great transition for me to come off of California, come here, and still keeping alive all the things that I was passionate about all my life long.
Thank you so much, Susan. And last but not least, I'd love to introduce you to Lisa Marrone. She is, again, one smart cookie. She not only has her JD from Harvard, she's got her MBA from Harvard and was summa cum laude at Yale. How did you transfer all of that knowledge? You could have done practically anything, and you decided to start a social network. And it's a social network aimed at women and aimed at women who are 50 plus. So I'd just love to hear how that happened.
Thanks so much for having me. How did that happen? Well, I, after school, was first working as a VC in San Francisco. I had never lived in California before, had never worked in tech before, but a VC who worked at August Capital, his name is David Hornick, took a chance on me and saw something innate within me that led him to believe that I could do that job. And so moved out to California and started meeting entrepreneurs and hearing their business ideas. And I think there had always been that entrepreneurial spark within me. As a girl, I was the one who read the clippings from American Girl magazine about the girls who started something herself. And yet there was also a part of me that didn't believe that I could do it and did not have any role models in my life who had done it. And so it took me a year and a half of being a VC and meeting founders every day to realize that there was nothing separating me from them except that they were braver than I. And simultaneously, my co-founder and I had been talking about a variety of themes, one of which was the reality that those coming to pitch me were primarily men in their 20s or 30s building technology for men in their 20s and 30s. And why was no one building for a different demographic? And why was no one using technology to help a demographic who, for a whole variety of reasons, might be feeling more isolated and less empowered? And so we wanted to honor all of the women in our lives who are amazing and bold and beautiful, despite being in their 50s and 60s and 70s, and build a platform that would allow her to create connections with other women going through the same transitions, and like really build technology that honored her, mainly for the selfish purpose so that someday we could use that too. And so that there would be something out there in the world that showed that, yeah, despite being in my mid 30s now, 15 years out from being a Revel member myself, like I want, by the time that I reach that milestone, for there to be many, many examples around me of women who are turning the current narrative around ageism on its head. And that's what Revel's all about at the end of the day.
Love it, Lisa. Thank you. Drea, I want to get back to you. I know that you have used a platform lately, and I think it's so important for everybody on this panel, everybody on the call, to talk about allyship. You're a strong advocate for allyship. What does allyship really mean to you?
I think allyship in the context of the workplace, it's definitely a way that I see can really move the needle on retention, especially when we talk about diversity and inclusion. I think allyship really hits on that retention piece that we don't talk enough about. And specifically for me and my experience, I find that successful allyship experiences for me have been those that are built on shared interests, but also shared experiences as well too. And so as someone that has sought out allyship, what I've learned is that it's not only important for people to do great work, but it's also critical to have senior leaders, senior executives also speak on behalf of your work. So really encouraging senior leaders to use their platform and their privilege to elevate others within their network that they may not look like, but again, kind of thinking about allyship piece as that way to elevate and amplify the work of others through platform and through privilege. And in terms of, for me and my own experience with allyship, it was something I had to be very clear on. What is the outcome that I want out of this allyship experience? And as I mentioned, I was at a place in my career where, I knew I was doing great work, but usually having someone speak on behalf of your work can really speak more volumes or can really amplify your work in necessary ways. So I think that was for me, is like I was very clear on what I needed this help from and who I needed this help from and what I needed this help to look like. So for me, again, just going back to the beginning, allyship is really a focus on that retention piece, because I think when we talk about diversity and inclusion in the workplace, we talk a lot about bringing in pipeline, but there is pipeline there. And I think it's also a matter of like, how do we work with building up the pipeline that we currently have or the current workforce that we have to make sure that we're getting them up to senior positions as well.
That is such a great point, and one that I'm a big advocate of as well. Retaining that group of people and fostering their growth is the best thing you can do for your business.
Yeah.
Work from
And also
within.
looking at it as something that's also mutually
outside.
beneficial as
Yeah.
well too.
So important, so important. Thank you for sharing that. And Alessandra, you are working on that as well from a different angle. You've created something really interesting at Cadence that I know it's percolating and spreading through Silicon Valley. Your idea of this returnship, so not internship, but returnship. Could you explain that a little bit?
Sure, I'll be happy to. So first of all, I don't think I'm going to surprise anybody saying that finding women in staff or STEM position is incredibly challenging still. In our case, Cadence we do software, and Cadence is in everything you see that contains electronics. So basically our software is used by a semiconductor company to design software. So people in my organization are supporting our customers, developing semiconductors, but they need to be expert in software. And guess what? Since we are a pre-sales organization, they also have to have technical skills. So the funnel becomes really, really narrow for you to find good talent. And, you know, being a woman, of course, I'm invested in women heavily, and but I think it's just the right thing to do, right? To have a diverse workforce. Our employees are our capital. I completely subscribe to what Pat was saying at the beginning. So are definitely our capital. So we started thinking, how can we increase the number of women in the organization, and also how can we give a fair chance to women to come back to work, especially after they took a break, either to take care of a child, pregnancy, take care of a relative. Women are still very much the caregivers inside of families. So what we did, at the beginning of this year, and in retrospect, it wasn't the best year ever, we thought of putting together a training program that would get women who had taken a break back on their feet from a technical standpoint. It's high tech, it's very fast paced. Trends come in fashion, go out of fashion incredibly fast. And so people, fall behind in their knowledge. So what we did, we put together this program. It was just a pilot. We had a handful of positions available for 4 months, sort of internship with, hands-on work, training, interacting also with customers. And I'm happy to say that in spite of a lot of skepticism that I have around, we were able to fill all the positions that we had available. And even more important than that, we have hired the majority of the interns now, or returnees, now are full-time Cadence employees. So it's a double success for us and for the women who came back to the workforce, and in spite of everything that is going on, of course.
That is so fantastic to just take that very intelligent workforce and get them back up to speed. It really, but that takes a lot. A lot of people think, oh no, my career is over, or I'll have to pivot to something totally different. But putting that time, putting that investment in them so that they can get right back up to where they'd been and succeed. It's wonderful.
And one more thing, I thought it would be just serendipity, or they're looking for something, we have something to offer. What I didn't realize was the struggle actually that a lot of women with several years of experience were facing, because they were very often competing against the new college grads in terms of skill set. And so it was very challenging. So some of them were looking for a job for quite a while.
Great. Thank you, Alessandra. Julie, I want to throw it back to you. Pat started us out tonight talking about the future of work and what that world looks like post-COVID from your standpoint, because you work with so many women. I know how women lead. You've got thousands of followers who are really active in your organization. So you've got your pulse on so many different aspects of this. What do you think? Where are we in 2021 and the next few years?
Well, the pandemic has completely accelerated the future of work. I mean, that's, you know, for better or for worse, that we're all in a moment of change. So there are a couple cool things I can tell you. During an economic downturn is when the majority of cool new businesses start. Airbnb started in an economic downturn. So what I want you to all think about is you have a role in the future of work, no matter what's happening around you. And there's some pretty important data that I want all of you to be thinking about. McKinsey just came out today with their report on women in work, literally. Well, great timing for this conversation. There's a couple of things that we know. 1 out of 3 working moms are actually considering downscaling. That will be devastating to our companies, not just devastating to women, to the economy and to these companies. So the companies that win are the ones who are going to figure out how to get those women the support that they need and be able to create the environments where they can stay and thrive over time, or we're in trouble. It costs about 18 months of someone's salary when we have to replace someone. We don't want that to happen. There are a couple other really cool things that you can see in that report, but I want to point out one that is just essential. And this is kind of going back to Alexandra's comment about, you know, sort of these in the work environment and how people engage with each other. The data's been consistent over time, and it's worse this year that there's something called the broken rung. Women, especially women of color, are not getting to the manager level and above. We're starting in the workforce, but we are not in an environment that we are getting promoted. And you can blame women all you want, but that is not what is the problem if you look at it. So for example, Salesforce, they have been very public and visible about their pay equity, right? They invested millions and millions of dollars in trying to make sure that people were paid equitably. 2 years later, they realized it was off track and they had to do it again. You know, they found out 2 months. In 2 months, women are paid less. All of that is so disheartening for women. It makes you think you want to leave. You know, it really makes you think, you know what, even if I end up making so much less doing something else, at least if it's equitable and feels fair. So this is what I want you to be thinking about. The future of work for all of us and the future of leadership, which is my big area of expertise, is that we need that sense of safety from our leaders. We need that empathy, and we need that sense that we know where we're going and where we stand, and it's not in some invisible back room that these big decisions are happening. And so to me, when you look at the skills that women naturally have that distinguish us as leaders, those are going to be the things that are going to really propel women forward into successful leadership roles. If we can redefine the future of work and make the things that make women leaders particularly valuable in companies as the top indicators of success. We have had this old industrial work frame for how we define success in leadership and who should get promoted. Doesn't work. We've seen that failure over and over and over again. And you know, we just had the CEO of one of our main banks come out and say that that there are no Black people in the pipeline. That's such an antiquated, outdated way of thinking, and they're going to lose if they keep making those kinds of mistakes. So to me, as we rebuild this economy, we have to be asking, so what are the parts of this economy that are worth rebuilding? What do we want to redefine as the new normal? And if we lean in around this time, I believe women can be at the center of this new space and this new future of the economy. Who wouldn't want all of these women and Pat Wadors and you, Stefanie, to be leading our organizations? And that would give me the confidence and excitement that the future is bright.
I want this whole team tonight to be leading the world. I mean, even last night's debate, I think we can all safely say, no matter what side of the aisle you're on,
any one of us,
we need some social, emotional intelligence, which women are so good at going forward. There's just no question that that's missing in so many points of leadership right now. But Lisa, you know, same question to you. What do you think? Where are we in 2021?
Oh man. Well, I can tell you what my company, Revel, looks like today. And I think that the fact that we exist and the fact that our team looks the way we look gives me such hope for what companies across the board can look like in 2021 and beyond. We are a team of 9 full-time, 8 women, 1 man. My co-founder and I are both women. And we went through Y Combinator last summer. We were maybe one of 20 teams out of 200 and something where 100% of the co-founding team was women. And that's like one of, you know, the most preeminent touted accelerators out there, right? If that's, and they like to tout how diverse they are. And so that's the state of affairs. Our team is unique in one more respect though, and that's the intergenerational nature of our team. We span an age from 23 to 74. And how many tech companies, yet alone companies, look like that? And if you'd asked me when starting Revel if I had any expectations about what I would learn from my team, I think I would have had the standard answers around, you know, being a manager and like, you know, learning how to lead. I would not have expected the richness in my life from getting to work with those spanning generations and how that trapping of diversity is, it has allowed me to approach leadership with such greater wisdom.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're running out of time. So I'm going to sort of skip to the end, and I'm going to ask you all just a real quick thing. We've got we have many people on tonight, but we're really particularly happy that Parker School down in San Jose, they've got a bunch of their journalism students on tonight and a bunch of their Young Entrepreneurs Club. So I thought we could just wrap it up. Each of us, each of you ladies, say one piece of advice you'd like to give. And Alessandra, why don't we start with you? Piece of advice you'd like to give somebody who's in high school thinking about a career in technology.
Okay, it's nothing new, but dare to try new things and do not just settle on a path that is being created for you by somebody else. So just try to go big, try new things without being afraid of failing, but dare.
Wonderful. Drea, how about you?
Yes. I think one thing I would encourage folks to consider is really pay attention to those things or those experiences that give you energy. And think about how you might incorporate that into your career, or are there opportunities to bring aspects of things that bring you energy into your career? And I'll just say for me, I'm a huge sports fan, so I'm trying to figure out a way, how do I incorporate sports into my career right now? So that's one piece of advice, is just follow the energy and bring elements of that into your career.
Terrific. Susan?
You know, I think I've had two big things that I've played out in my life, and I'll cheat a bit and say one, momentum is paramount. Never stop moving. So just keep going. It's like riding a wave. Just get on that wave and just go, and you know, don't overthink it. Don't push it, you know, just get on it and don't stop moving. And then the other one, I kind of a riff of what Pat was saying at the beginning. My kind of mantra is above all else, be kind. So as you go through life, you just find if you're not feeling good about something, you're just going to feel worse about it if you're not kind about it. Just keep pushing along, but you know, you can be very, very effective. And I think women are so incredibly good at this, is being kind and building teams. And we just recently had a team analysis, and you know, 70% of happiness factor on a team is good. I had 95 of an all-star team, and I think the world of them, but you know, we treat each other with tremendous kindness, and I think we get right to the matter and get on with things. So above all else, be kind, because we're only here once on this planet.
So true. Lisa?
I think that with youth especially, it can be easy to think you know all the answers, and you have just gone through school, you got praise in school and told that you were really smart, maybe, or headed to a really great college. Just remember that you know less than you think you know. And so question asking and curiosity is paramount. And especially ask those who have been there before, and always be willing to learn from them.
Fabulous. And Julie, piece of advice for young woman watching.
Okay, I'm going to riff off of things other people said. Drea was an athlete. And in fact, almost 90% of women in top senior leadership in the C-suite in the United States are women who were athletes or are athletes now. So get into sports early, late, whenever you can. And although, Lisa, I totally am a believer of like intellectually keep learning, but what I want to say to you young women is there's a north inside of you. And what we are taught is not to listen to it as women in the United States. When you feel that sense of discomfort that maybe someone, you're like, is that really how that should go? Is that the truth? Listen to yourself, because those of us who are now on the other end of our careers, we look back and we think, why did I listen to that person telling me there was a limit or that I had to do something like a man did it? It's a little bit of a different world, but unfortunately, my generation didn't change it enough for you, and we're sorry for that. But I want you to know you have the right answer inside of you if you listen and make sure that your center is solid and you are respecting that voice inside of yourself, because you know.
That's beautiful. And I think we still have Pat Wadors on. Pat, are you there? I would love to have you sort of cap us off if possible and let us know what you offer as advice to these kids. You know, one great piece of advice to take away from tonight.
Yeah, I'm on. Thank you for keeping me on. Chase your butterflies. Lean into the growth mindset. Your aptitude, your skills aren't fixed, right? Don't listen to the teacher that says you're not analytical. Don't listen to someone that says you can't. You can wherever you have, put the effort into it. And remember that you are your destiny. Follow your Goldilocks.
That's perfect. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. It's been incredible. We went over a little bit. I hope you'll all forgive us for that, but it was too fun and too interesting to cut anybody off. So thank you. Thank you to the viewers for sticking with us. Huge thank you to 181 Fremont, to Seiler LLP, Morgan Stanley, Harker School, DeLeon Realty, and Cooley LLP. Without your support, we couldn't have created the Women in Tech issue that we put out this summer, and we couldn't have put together this amazing forum. So thank you, and a huge thank you to Miss Diane Dwyer, who always makes these shows fabulous. Big thank you, Diane. I'll turn it over to you.
Right back at you, Stefanie. Thank you so much. What a fun panel and insightful. And I love the different ages and the fact that we have a 30-year-old helping us 50-year-olds, and it's wonderful. So thank you, ladies. Thank you, everyone who joined us tonight. This is what it's about, learning from each other, talking to each other. And we really hope that you can join us for the last Gentry Women in Tech episode. That is on October 14th, and it's going to be fantastic as well. You can log on to gentrymagazine.com to register for all of that. In the meantime, I'm going to enjoy a little time here at 181 Fremont. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you on October 15th. Bye-bye.